Hello and hi, this is Irmina. Thank you so much for stopping by and for staying for a while. Today is day 30 of my movement journey, and I'm super excited to share some things with you. We know that this journey has not been about primarily fitness. The first goal is awareness, deep awareness, consistency, and repetition. Basically, to identify over a period of time, what are some of the deeper issues that allow us to maintain a long term practice? Why is it that some practice stay, some come and go, and some have a hard time staying? Now, I know the answer is going to be different for everybody. It's not going to be the same thing. In fact, what I encourage you to do is, as you're watching these, not to so much say, well, that's what she's doing and that's the same thing for me, but to sit with the question of how is this showing up in my own practice, or is there something completely different that's showing in my practice and why? And I don't mean why it's another for you to sit there and ask why, perpetually why, because that's what ends up happening, but for what reasons do certain practice stay in my life? For what reason is better than the question why? What are some of the things I do or don't do that allow, and beneath that, what's really the underlying motive? So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so briefly, I'm going to talk about what it is that I practiced because initially I talked a lot about walking. For me, this practice is going to be, it's about movement. So it's not just walking. Walking is where I want to start and where I started. And primary reason for me was because there was some pain in my body, and I quickly realized, well, you're not moving enough. You're not doing. You don't have a. I don't have a consistent practice. Speaking about me here, I don't have a consistent practice. I need to do something, and I need to rebuild the practice I've had, or uh, start something completely different. And I always like starting with walking because I find it easier. I find it to be not just movement, but it's a time for me to reflect, and especially if it's a beautiful day, even if it's not, if it's raining, it's a time for me to spend time in nature, with nature, to observe, to listen deeply to my own thoughts, and come up with deeper understanding, to reflect. So starting with walking was the easiest thing for me. And also, I also think when you're starting a movement program and you haven't done something consistent for a long time, the lowest hanging fruit is the smart place. Don't start with something that's so hard that you're going to get discouraged. Start with something that feels close to home. So I started with walking. But I quickly realized after a while I needed something more than that. There were days it was raining. We had some super heat wave. We had a heat wave where I think one day it was 110. Now, mind you, I did try to walk in the morning sometimes, but there were times I needed something else. So Pilates is something I love, so I included that. And I don't have a rebounder, but I do have. You can move in a way, because I used to dance ballet, to allow your body to sort of like have a similar experience as if you're on a rebounder. Okay, so that's, I call it rebounding, but that's not really a formal term for it. But it's another way. It's bouncing, another way to keep the body moving and to elevate your heart rate by putting your arm over your head. Anyway, so the focus for me for the first 30 days was consistency. And out of 37 days, I walked or did some sort of movement, whether it was Pilates or, and really the way my Pilates is being done right now, I really should just call it calisthenics. I'm not able to do it at a level I would call it Pilates. It's calisthenics. And so, but calisthenics, and then bouncing or rebounding movements to just get my heart rate going and just keep my body moving. And what I've noticed is less pain in my knee. It went away immediately during the first week, and then I started wearing the shoes, and then it came back, and I decided to just start over with the shoe thing, and now it's starting to be less pain and going away. So I love that. Um, the fact that I returned was the win. The first day was the win. The 7th day was the don't give up. Okay. And then now the 30 days is keep it moving and work through the boredom. This is the time when I start to be like, I love walking, I love doing this, I love doing that, but this is, I need to find another place to walk, etc. So it's all about showing up and not seeking perfection in myself of whatever that might mean for me. The biggest change I noticed, they weren't actually dramatic change. It was very quiet. You know, the way I can sit is different. The way I can move is different. The way I'm getting up is different. I'm much more fluid. My body feels a little more like my body versus me inhabiting a stranger's body, which is something I felt for a while as a result of an activity. Um, the gentler approach, I don't think it works for everybody, but for me, it is absolutely the best way. I'm able to say this is day 30 because I approach this as a um, what's the word I'm looking for? uh, Reconditioning phase. I didn't look at it as a phase of I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna lose a certain amount of weight. It's no, it was get yourself back to movement. So by starting at that, it supported me quite a bit. I didn't push myself, meaning there were days I think I did. There were a few days where it was like 15 minutes. You know, there were days it was 45 minutes. There was one day I walked twice. There was one day I walked and did Pilates. So I went with the flow because I'm trying to relearn where this body is and what it needs and wants from me, you know, and how to be a better steward of it long term. I've been an amazing steward of my body for many times in my life. And I say this because that's what I did for a long time. I danced and I was into health and fitness. And now that I'm looking at it as, okay, I've got probably a few more decades left. I don't know how many. How do I make this less of a restart? So that came up quite a bit. I think I'm going back and forth into positives and challenges, but work with me. um, what I did notice is because I wasn't trying to embody a specific type of person within myself, I was more forgiving and I could actually do what it is that I needed to do when I needed to do it. So let's talk about what got in the way. And I'm going to pause and start back over because that's the part most people I think are interested in. It's like what was challenging during the 30 days? So I had to lean back for that part. My visitors for the first 30 days, ah, judgment. Judgment is a wonderful visitor because when she shows up, my judgments, there's different types, but this particular one, when she shows up, she's not brutal. She comes through with things like uh, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What is that going to do long term? Like, is that really going to make a difference? Or, and that is a little brutal, but actually, that's not how she actually shows up. It's not like 10 minutes. It's more like, oh, you can do better than that, and I have to say, no, I'm okay with 15 minutes today because this is where I am today, and I'm okay with that. But thank you for sharing. Right? So it's not like a brutal, it's more like a subtle nudge. And I've recognized over the years, these subtle nudges sometimes are beneficial, but other times what they do is they may make me push beyond what I'm able to do in that moment, cause some sort of injury, or, you know, usually it's some sort of injury. And then I'm off for a week or 2 weeks. Okay, so that's the first visitor. The second visitor was disappointment, and she showed up really well between day 21 and day 30th. And I think she showed up multiple times. And disappointment was, oh my God, I cannot believe you're starting over again. How many times have you been here? Oh my God, I'm so disappointed in you. Now, this is the inner voice. And I've talked about this before. It's a visitor. It's not here to stay. It's just kind of like testing me to see, have I integrated the part of me that may have a different expectation? And I have. I'm like, well, thank you for sharing that. But um I've had so many successes as a wellness and fitness person that this is just a minor setback. I'm going to overcome this the same way I overcame everything else. And considering the injuries I've had and have come back from, the the lifestyle transformation changes I've had, and I've come, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna do this. But thank you for sharing. The other thing I realized about disappointment, disappointment is can be for me an energy that keeps me um, from forgetting why I'm doing something. Like it reminds me to remember why you're doing this for me. Okay. I'm not saying that this is going to apply to everybody. For some, in this, the energies that show up that are negative, the visitors that show up that are negative, they're part of our ancestral, familial upbringing, challenges, and things we have either epigenetically or just regularly have not um, been able to make peace with. And once we make peace with them, this is my view of this. Once we make peace with them, they become, they can actually become friends. And I don't mean that in a, the word friend actually means fiend. So, in a way, I'm kind of being honest about this. Like it's like, yeah, they're like friends. They're like friends. They're not kinship, right? But it's a version of ourselves that is trying to prevent future pain, trying to prevent a repeat. Try, but it's using the language that was used at one point either by parents, by relatives, by community, or ancestrally. You know, we were eggs in our grandmother's body when our mother was in her body. So we still carry those genetical imprints, right? So, and whether it's from 500 years or less, but we know it's 7 generations. I mean, you do enough spiritual study, you know, we carry the memory of those 7 generations with us, and it affects how we move around. And I want to get back to my point. So disappointment, and another one was boredom. Boredom for me, as someone who's highly creative, I need to be creating all the time, right? Someone who's highly creative, boredom can make me want to do things that may be harmful. For example, why not go for a run today and try it? No, my first 90 days or is a reconditioning phase. I'm not running the first 90 days, and I'm not even sure I'm going to run at all. There has other ways for me to become aligned with my spectrum of fitness. I don't feel that running is going to be this part of my journey going forward. And this is me talking to myself here, like, no, no, thank you. I don't think that. And boredom was like, well, you need to do this instead, or this is getting boring. You're walking in the same park over and over again. Why not come up with another plan? And it's like, no, no, I can walk this again today. And yes, I will come up with another location. But I know enough about myself that if I keep changing locations, eventually that becomes the project. Where do I go next? Oh, I'm not going to go today because I don't want to go to this place. Blah, blah, blah. Keep it simple. So boredom can complicate things unnecessarily for me. So knowing that, I'm able to make peace with my boredom and be like, nah, we'll spice it up. I'm planning to spice it up around 90 days when I have uh, build up certain aspect of my well-being and I feel comfortable challenging myself in certain areas. And also I'm here for the long term. Consistency, repetition, and awareness are my goals, not how much can I do. That's a benefit. Anyways, um, that kind of covers the last thing I was going to say, which is wanting to push too hard. The other thing is wanting to be where I'm not. I have to be honest with myself. My cardiovascular fitness is not where it was 4 years ago, definitely not where it was 10, 20 years ago. But that's a whole other story. My cardiovascular fitness is not within the range for my age, even though some people might say, well, you're pushing 60, as one of my students once said to me. I never forget that. Anyhow, and so I'm thinking within my range of fitness, for me, as somebody who is a dancer, who is naturally inclined toward movement, I'm not where I need to be. So, uh, I'm going to conclude with the very final section, which is what I'm noticing and what I'm going to do next and take forward with me. So here's the thing. I'm not trying to be somebody that never stopped moving. I think that's unrealistic. I am moving toward the person that knows how to return. So that was one of the key messages that I got during the first 30 days. It's not about not stopping. That may be beyond my control. And an emergency, moving, something could happen. But how to consistently return. So that's the biggest 30-day lesson that I'm taking forward with me. Um, there are some keywords that showed up that I thought was in alignment. For example, I used to have a rebounder, which is a little mini trampoline you use to help with circulation, but it was just a lot of fun. I don't have one now, but the fact that a rebounder is about coming back or bouncing back, I thought, oh, that makes sense. A reformer. I never had a Pilates reformer, but I like the idea that a reformer was specifically designed, especially for dancers, to help them heal through injury and to reform the body, right? To reform it. So I'm like, okay, reformer, rebounder, those things that I've loved, maybe I'm entering into that phase. Okay, that phase of using those terminologies and how I'm responding to my body. Um, I'm moving toward becoming weatherproof. That means I don't care what the weather is, I'm out there. Now, I've done levels of that before, but I feel like it's in I'm breathing and oozing that now. I mean, there's certain weather I do not think I'll be out. But there was a time, I do have a photo from many years ago where there was a snowstorm and I was out there. Now, I'm not advising people go walk in the snowstorm, but it's because I love the experience of how the weather is having its own unique conversation with us and to be out there enjoying that conversation with the weather. Now, again, I'm not advising people to do unsafe things. That's not where I'm going with this. So I don't want the rain, the heat, um, other people's weather, which would be their emotions, their state of mind, to decide whether or not I am moving that day. So, in closing, because we're now at 17 minutes, in closing, I think the biggest takeaway for me in the past 30 days is that a practice is a quiet reformation. Think about reform. We all know ATIN speaks to actually a nation of things, right? So it's a practice of changing the form or um, reorganizing the form. I'll think that's a better sense. That clarifies a little bit better for me. So for me now, I'm on a journey of that deeper awareness, that repetition, that consistency, so that I can reform my body, not lose weight, not nothing wrong with you know having that as a desire or a goal, but to say that I'm reforming my body and I'm bouncing back from a period, shifts it away from things that are beyond my control. Like it puts the control back where it is, which is awareness, consistency, repetition. You do something enough, it becomes a habit. You come back to the habit enough, it becomes ingrained. Yes, we know 21 days puts a little blink, a light in the habit. It does not form a habit, but it puts a little uh, signal. And then 40 days is where you really start to develop a longer term habit. But for my experience, it takes an entire season. And a season for me, when I say season, like it's a full year, 4 seasons if you're experiencing that wherever you live, but it's an entire year. So I will go ahead and stop here. I want to thank you for showing up, and I want to thank you for staying a while because this is another long one. I look forward to reconnecting with you in the future. What you can do when you watch these videos is ask yourself a simple question. What have I gained? What have I learned? How am I diving deeper? Um, what is my takeaway from this experience? All right. So thank you again for watching. This is Irmina signing out, and I'll see you again next time.